Okay, so today we're going to look at using the tool called Pandas. This is for some data analysis, and the first thing that we're going to look at is a thing called a data frame. So a data frame is very similar to a database, except a data frame is just used in Python. So when you have some data like we have here as a list, you can actually import this as a grid kind of structure to give it a 2D dimension. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to import a library. So we're going to import Pandas as PD. So anytime that we want to reference Pandas, we're just going to reference PD. So instead of having to do it the long way around. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to set up a data frame. So we're just going to call that df. And then what we're going to do is we're going to say PD or Pandas dot data frame. Sorry, capital F. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get it to put the data that we have above there into that data frame. Okay, and then just so that I can see what way that is working, I want to print the data frame so that I can see that it is working. After you get it working, you can comment out this line, but it's just a test to see is it actually working. So when I run that, we should, in our output section, or shell or console, we should get a table that's similar to something like this. Okay, so in the last video we looked at how to import a list as a data frame. Now we're actually going to look at how we can import a CSV file. So in my folder here I have my data.csv, and then I have the file that I'm going to be running that's in the background here, saved in the same folder. If it's a case that you bring your data.csv into a subfolder, then you will have to reference this above. Okay, so let's look at the code that we have. So all we're having is import pandas as PD. So in the previous one I explained that anytime we call on pandas we just have to call PD now. We're setting up our data frame. We're calling pd.read_CSV. So we're saying we want to read the CSV. And then what CSV do you want? So data.csv. Remember, if you are putting this in a subfolder, you would have the subfolder's name here, and then you would have a slash in front of this. But for now I'm going to leave it as it is. And then we have print.df for data frame, so this section that's here, and then the head section of it. What that's going to do is it's just going to display the first 5 rows of the actual data that we have. So if I run this now, it should import the CSV, and if I take a look at this, you can see that I have a category, a value 1 and a value 2, and it's after importing the first 5 rows of this information. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at doing in Pandas is a thing called filtering. Now, filtering your data is going to be important because you might have a CSV that has lots and lots of information, but most of it might be irrelevant. So we're going to look at how you can filter it out. I'm going to use a normal list as part of this, but in the previous example I've shown you how to import a CSV, and you can filter the exact same way using similar code. Okay, so if we take a look at this from the start, again we're importing pandas as PD. We have the data that's going to be the raw data that we're going to be using here, so it's just a list that has name, age and city, and it has that broken down into 3 sublists inside in that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to set up a data frame, so we're going to say it's equal to pandas PD dot data frame, and then what data do we want to display? We want to display the data that's up here. Okay, now what I'm coming up with is a second data frame. The second data frame is going to be called filtered_df, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the primary, so the df that's up here, and what we're going to do is we're going to just filter it by things that are aged greater than 30. Okay, so that filters all ages that are greater than 30, and then what we're going to do is we're going to print it out. Okay, so if we run that, you should see that out of all of the things that are here, there's only one person that is greater than 30, so that's going to be Charlie, and that's why Charlie is down below here. Okay. Okay, so in this example what we're going to do is we're going to look at grouping and aggregating information. So what I have here is I have import pandas as PD as before. I have my data, which is going to be the raw data that we're collecting, and in this I have two kind of sections. So one is category and one is values. And what I have then is in the category I've listed A, B, A, B. So this could be a survey of some sort and they're collecting it as they go along. So obviously we want to get all the totals of what the A's were and all the totals of what the B's were. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up a data frame. So again, we've set up df is equal to pd.dataframe, and we're going to have data because that's what we're linking to over here. What we're going to have then is we're going to set up a separate grouping. So that's going to be our grouped section that's here. So we're setting it up as if it's a variable. We're going to say we want to take a data frame again. We're going to say group by, and we're going to group it by the category. So the category being this list. And then we also want to find the dot sum. So what it's going to do is it's going to take the totals for the A's, so that's going to be 10 and 15, and it's going to add the sum of them together. And for the B's, it's going to take 20 and 25 and add the sum of them together, and then it will display them, and then it's going to print them out, so that's going to display them. So when we run this, very simply down below here, we will get our two different categories and our two different values and the totals sums of each. Okay, so 25 and 45. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at is actually how to sort a data frame. So what we're going to do here is we're going to put them in order of ascending age, descending age. So we're going to have it the opposite. So the eldest person is going to be first, and then it will move down the way. Okay, so again, importing pandas as PD, we have our raw data, which is here, so it's going to be equal to name, so these are all the names that I have, and then age and all the ages that are there. And then what we're doing is we're setting up a data frame. Again, we're saying that it's equal to PD or pandas up here, and then it's the command data frame that's inside in this. And then what data do we want to display? We want to display this data, which is this up here. Okay. Now, what we want to do is we now want to sort the data frame. So we're going to leave that equal to df, which is our data frame that's up here. And then we're going to say dot sort values. And the thing that we're going to sort by is going to be age. And then we've put a constraint on it that we want it to be reverse order. So reverse ascending order. So the eldest will be first. And then what we're going to do is we're going to print off the sorted df, which is going to be this guy up here. So if we run that, we should find that Charlie is in first position, then Bob, and then Alice. Okay. So with pandas as well, we can add some information or we can calculate some information. So again, we have import pandas as PD, we have our raw data, which is here, we have our name and our age, and then we're setting up our data frame the same way as we've done it before, so pd.dataframe and data. Now what we're going to do is we're going to add another column to this data frame, and we're going to work out if somebody is an adult or not an adult. So what we're going to do is we're going to get it to add in if the age is greater than 18, it's going to say that that person is an adult, and then it's going to print the data frame with the additional column. So when I run this, you should see the data frame below here, and we should have an additional column that would be is adult or not. So it's saying is it an adult, and then this is true, this is true, this is true. So if I change one of these, let's say I put them to be 15 instead, and we run this again, you should see now that it's showing that Alice is false, she's no longer an adult. Okay, so we've looked at a few different things with pandas. Now we're going to look at handling some missing data. So I'm going to do this a very basic way, and then we'll look at a more complicated way with CSV files later on. So the first thing that we're doing is we're importing our library as PD. We have our data that we're going to be using, so it's a very simple list that we have with two different elements to it. So our name and our age, and then the two of those are linked. we have some values that are in here that are none and none that are going to be here. So we have to look at how we're going to actually handle these. So we're setting up DataFrame, and that's going to be equal to Pandas, which is PD, dot DataFrame, and then we're going to take in the data that we have up here through this. And then what we're going to look at is we're going to create another data frame, and this data frame is going to be filling in the not applicable or none elements. So we're going to have it that it will replace the none with unknown, and then once we press print on this, it should give us a new data frame with unknown instead of none. So that's how we do it very basically.